Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for being on the call today. And, this is a real privilege for me for you attending this call. I know it's holiday time and you want to kick back. So let's just kick back and have some fun today. So when you started a career in real estate, you hit the easy button. Yeah, well, a lot of you are going, what easy button is that? But what do I mean by that? Well, we've had a fascinating year. If you were on earlier, I said this has been a fascinating 2020, and I'm sure you agree. We pivoted, and then we pivoted again, and then we pivoted again. And yet when you have simple, duplicatable systems, it kept a lot of agents in the right motion. And of course, ending the year with some of the best numbers they've ever had. So how did that happen? What went on there? So I'm going to go over a few systems, 5 to be exact. And there's no secrets in real estate. I've coached more than any other coach in real estate, over 90,000 one-on-one calls. And I don't even know how many assistants that I've coached in group calls. I haven't figured that one out yet. And so what I want to share with you, I have a passion about how easy real estate can be when you just have some very simple systems. Now, you're not going to hear anything probably earth-shattering today because there's never earth-shattering. So hopefully you come with the attitude, let me hear what she has to say. Let me look at what this easy button is all about. And let me think about what I can do to improve my business. Because I learned a word from Tony Robbins a long time ago, and that was CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. And I think that's a real key thing for us to always remember, constant and never-ending improvement. And real estate is an easy button. It's really an easy button. So when you have an assistant that's focused on following the systems as these top priorities, your business can be the easy button, and it can be anything you want it to be. There are 5 systems that are directly related to profit attached to it. And so I'm going to go over the listing. I'm not going to go over these things. The listing, the marketing, the pending systems, or hiring systems. That's a whole different call. But what I thought about making this call different is that let's think about a couple of things. And that is, what are the easy buttons? What are the things that are the most, obvious, and yet we don't make them obvious? Where's the most profitability? And I want us to focus on those direct impacts. And so this is the easy button of delegation. So you simply have to do this. Think about the things that I'm going to go over. Your assistant should be a 4 times return on your on the salary that you are giving he or him, she or him. And let's talk about what it takes to build that successful team with that easy button. So let's take a look at the system. So why are systems important? Well, first of all, they increase business. They're duplicatable and scalable. You do not. So when you have systems in place, like a listing system, a pending system, a communication system, all these systems go into place. You don't need to think about it. Your job as a real estate agent is that you absolutely lead generate, you lead follow up, you go on appointments, you write contracts, you negotiate, you role play. That's it. Those are the dollar signs. And so a lot of you have the bold planner. And if you don't have the bold planner, I think Chris can put it in the chat box where you can get the bold planner. And Gary Keller believes in a bold planner. So do I. And I'm going to suggest to you as an agent listening to this, put dollar signs next to your activities. And the assistants will go through that are on the call. What are the dollar signs in your activities? How many dollar signs do you have today? So an excellent customer experience, an efficient roadmap. Bottom line is, when you have systems, you don't have to worry about crashing the plane, and you're not building the plane as you're flying. So when I always say that, I always say, okay, let's look at this. Who wants to get on an airplane where the pilot hasn't walked around the aircraft, double, triple check whatever the ground crew has done? Who doesn't want a pilot that isn't following a checklist? And so many times when we find out about pilot error is that they missed something on the checklist, that they got a little bit too familiar with, oh, I know that. So it's all about systems. And so, like I said, you don't want to be building the airplane as it's flying, and you want to make sure that the checklists and the systems that you have are duplicatable and scalable, whether you're doing 30 transactions or 330 or 1,330. So define the goal of your system. What is the system going to ultimately mean? Where are you going with that? It manages stress. It's scalable, like I said before, and it increases profitability because you are working at such a high level of efficiency through that checklist, through that system. and repeat in business and for customer for life. And I'll go through that when we get to that one system and referral system also. All right, so the next one that's most important is the communication system. And so Chris will go to that one. The communication systems will have a direct impact on your schedule and your accountability, profitability, and your success and growth. So communication systems between you and your system are critical. This is basically your partner in business. This is the culture of your team. This is the culture of your business. This is a person that's going to have the most impact sometimes on the clients. Yeah, you listed the house. Yeah, you sold it. Yeah, you negotiated the contract. However, the assistant, in most cases, like in the training that I do, they call every day and I give them the script and what to say. And they build this bridge of trust. They build this bridge of referral and repeat business. So communication system, Friday report. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But basically the Friday report is where, I used to work for the Dave Ramsey Solutions. If you know about Dave Ramsey and his radio show and his philosophies and everything. And I got this Friday report from them every Friday. 5 things you did to move the business forward. Week high, week low. And then I added, what do you do to wow a customer? Imagine getting that from your assistant, seeing the business move forward. How valuable is that? How valuable is it when you have an accountability partner like an assistant putting a Friday pending report on your chair every single Friday at 10 o'clock and a listing report? How many days on the market, what the communication has been. You need to know your inventory, you need to know your business, and you need to know your bottom line at all times. Imagine that. Communication log. So I train that your assistant keeps track of every communication with that seller. Does that sound a little redundant? Nope, not at all. Not in the land of, you might get sued or you might go to mediation. It's so important that you are over communicating with the clients. Never will a client call you and say, I'd like to absolutely do this, and that is cancel my listing because I hear from you guys too much. Nobody does that. So remember, and I teach this in class, your assistant and you need to understand that even though you wrote the contract at 6%, you may not have the sale on that. They just gave you 6% of the value of their home. Is every phone call 6% of the value? Is there every phone call, did you make them feel important? MFI, if you want to write that down, make me feel important. Communication log is critical. This is where you build the bridge of success. Monthly meeting. I'm a big proponent that the assistant is involved in weekly and monthly meetings, but also more importantly, when you have one assistant, that you have a daily huddle. Here's the things that I'm working on. Here's what I completed yesterday. Here are the questions. Those are the things that an assistant absolutely should be telling you. And then, by the way, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Obviously, goals and business plan. This is an extension of you. This is one of the most important people in your world. This is a keeper of your business. And so when you have that high level of communication and you're making that assistant feel respected, responsible,
do you know anything?
Accountability. Whoops. Okay. Thank you, Brady. All right. Okay. Then the KPA and DISC. And so some of you might say, well, what's a KPA? Well, if you're with Keller Williams, every market center has a KPA, and most of you will all have access to a DISC also. Really understanding each other. So instead of you reading your assistant's KPA or DISC, why not be having your assistant read yours? And then you guys communicate back and forth when you say, hey, this is what I read about your DISC, tell me about this. Or this is what I read on your KPA, let's talk about that. Those are critical things. And so communication, so how do you rate your communication systems? Is your assistant in charge of all of the numbers? Is your assistant in charge of giving you reports on a weekly basis? Do you have a communication system where it's basically accountability also? It's going to keep you on your schedule when you know how many, the monthly goal was 8 listings or 4 listings and it's the middle of the month and you have 1. Doesn't that make a big change? Doesn't that make a difference? So I'm going to ask you right now, rate some of those. Where do you need to circle back to build that communication system? The assistant is a rock star of communication also for buyers and sellers. And so understand that role playing with your assistant is critical. Role playing situations is critical. How do you want your assistant to say, when you're not available, that you're on the phone. I'm sorry, John's here. He's not available right now. He's with a client. How can I help you immediately? You role play those situations, or when a client calls and is really mad about something, the sign blew down or something ridiculous, but they're hugely upset. They're just massively upset. And so the assistant knows how to diffuse that. That's all through role playing. That's all through training. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. All right, next slide is database. Okay, I'm sorry. Here's the Friday report that I was talking about that I think this is so important. 5 things I did to move the business forward, week high, week low, and what'd you do to wow a customer? You get really in tune to what your assistant is doing to help to be a profit center for you. What if they told you about a customer that needed such and such, and then they drove over there that night and dropped that off for them, or they were this or that and they made sure that this was taken care of? Know those stories. That's how you build repeat and referral business. And then sometimes week high and week low, sometimes I'll find out something personally that I didn't take the time to probably stop in my busy high D world to say, hey, how are you? What's going on with you? Anything I can help with. And so that sometimes is where I can communicate when I find out that their grandmother is sick or something like that. Okay. All right. Next slide. Let's go to database. Okay. All right. So the database is your only asset. It's not a Louis Vuitton bag. It's not your Mercedes sitting in the driveway or whatever it is. It's none of those things. When you go to step back to the side or out of your business, it's the database. How valuable is it when you hire an assistant to be the profit center for you on the database, meaning they're the keeper of the gold? They track the growth and they understand what a complete is: name, address, phone number, and email. When they're putting in the database a new seller and they realize that they don't have the wife's email, they stop, they call the wife, they get the email, so that you have completes on everyone. It's not like one spouse instead of the other. You have to have both spouses. And being real diligent about the growth of that. Gary Keller says the database should grow by 3 every single day. Well, that's a good plan. Let's go with that and have your assistant be accountable for that. In the database, obviously, if you're using Command or whatever system you're using, there's a marketing plan in there. There's a smart plan, the opportunities pipeline. And I'll speak to that because that's the one I know in Command from Keller Williams. This is the most beautiful when you put in all your leads there. Who should put those leads in? Who puts those leads in? Those leads are put in by your great assistant. Can you imagine not losing a lead? I remember times that I'd have little sticky notes and I try to remember, who was Bob? Why am I calling Bob? There's a Jane. What's Jane about? Oh my gosh. I would have a drawer full of leads. I'm sure none of you have ever done that. I mean, I had leads coming here, there, and then it's like, oh, I don't even. So what if your assistant organized your leads every day after lead generation, or you had a meeting with your assistant to hand them over any leads that you needed to give her or him that day to go put in the database, in the pipeline. In that pipeline, if you're familiar with it, you put every single lead in there, even if it's a year out. You have a concise place, and then you can see that once they go into the next step, you can see how closer you are to that income. It's such the coolest thing. But your assistant is in charge of the leads. Remember, I'm not asking you to do any of these things. And these are the systems that create like the no-brainer of, okay, database. Yeah, that's important. If I came to your office today, how much would I pay for your database? I want to buy you out of your business. Can you sell it to me that it makes any sense? Or would I walk away going, you're not ready to sell your database? So think about that. These aren't earth-shattering things I'm talking about. It's basically, let's tune up the race car right now and get it ready for 2021. All right. So, all right, next slide. Let's talk about profit share. And you're going, profit share? Yeah, delegate that to your assistant because you probably won't do it. So here's what I know about profit share. I've asked the assistants that I train to, every time a call comes in from a non-Keller Williams agent. Now, if you're not Keller Williams, and I know we have some agents that are listening, this will be something to kind of listen to, and you'll go, oh, I'm not doing that. Well, too bad, but listen to this. So anyone who writes a contract that's not Keller Williams, whether it goes through or not, or even on a listing, let's do this. Have your assistant put together an sheet. They're keeping track of those people. Now, in some of the cases, you can get a little bit more in depth. You can have your assistant research how many transactions they've done, how long they've been in real estate. And then your assistant can easily make a call and say, hi, Bill, I know that you called on this listing blank, blank. How are you? Do you have a couple minutes? Great. I was just talking to my agent, John, and he asked that I call you because we would like you to consider something. Would you spend 5 minutes with our team leader? And our team is growing, and we just wanted you to hear about Keller Williams. Would that be something that you would like to do? And by the way, we're spending $1 billion on technology. And we are looking for another agent on our team if you're interested, but at least find out about Keller Williams. Now, there's two ways to go at it. If you're aggressively looking for someone on your team, your assistant calls them, sets an appointment for you to meet with them, okay? Second thing is, if you wanted to go the route I did, you just have them go talk to the team leader. Every team leader right now is massively recruiting. This is the time that people are moving around. And yet, how valuable is it when you turn over to your assistant? Wow. Okay, here's what we're going to do. All right. I want to know how many contacts we're going to need to make. And I'll make some of them and you'll make some of them. What we actually do in 2021, we'll find out. Appointments set with the team leader. Agents recruited for downline. Agents recruited for the team. Income earned. Okay. So why not have that? And then some of you will say, well, what about the assistant? Well, you know, most assistants can be put into your downline and you can help build their downline. Now, what's great about that is that the things that happen right now is that your assistant that's one way that I call contributing to their future. And yet they have to be with you. I believe it's 3 years now to be vetted. And if they do leave, then they do not take that profit share with them. So that's the new rules now. The rest of us have been grandfathered in that we leave, we can take it, but they can't leave and take it. I think I'm right on that. Okay. Oh, it's 7 years. You're right. In 1 day now. Thank you, Kristen. I knew it was a big number. So I went low just to be safe. So thank you for that. It's 7 years. Yeah, that'll keep them. That'll keep them there. So a lot of times assistants will leave. And yet if we help build their downline and they're in our downline, now, do they all have to go directly under your assistant? No, you can go every other. But anyway, the bottom line is profit share. Bring them into that system. Get them going on that. All right. So here's a little known facts about profit share. It took Gary 25 years, or Keller Williams, to distribute $1 billion in profit share. The rate we're going right now, it'll take 4 years to distribute another $1 billion. So things are really growing. Things are really increasing. Profits are really there. So you can either join the wagon or you can watch the train and the wagon go by. So get on and get your assistant. See, I'm a person that I know I'm a great salesperson and I love selling. And what I don't want to do is all this other stuff. But if I hire the right people and I get them on the team, then this is the stuff that's delegated. So here's the 5 profit centers. Okay, so let's go. That's an easy button. Delegate that. Let's go to the next slide, Chris. Okay, reviews and referrals. There should never be a time that you haven't role played with your assistant. The power of, by the way, thanks for working with our team. We so appreciate your business. Is there anything else I can do to help your day? Every assistant should say what I call the Disneyland close. Make them feel good, to ask them how you can help their day. And then they say, oh, before I let you go, you know, I've got to ask you a question. Who do you know right now who could use our help in buying or selling? We so appreciate referrals from great clients like you. Can they just spit that out like I can? If not, why not? Role play, role play, role play. So in every assistant training that I do, I make sure that in their checklist that they have every single week that they're asking for a review and a referral. The second someone says, wow, that's great that you're calling so often. Well, that's great. You let us know. Oh, thank you for noticing, Mr. Jones. May I ask you a favor? Our business is based on reviews from great people like you. May I send you a link to realtor.com, Zillow.com? Would you give us a great review? We so appreciate it. You strike when the iron's hot. You don't wait till the end of the listing. During that listing period when they are really appreciative about something, ask them for the review then. And so that's a powerful thing when you have your assistant that has a goal to get 4 reviews, 1 a week, that your assistant is on board to get at least 1 referral a month from the current clients, if not more, and 1 from their current database. So meaning every assistant, every single person on your team should have their database inside yours. Yes, they can have a field with their initials, and yes, you'll pay them appropriately. So the reviews and the referrals are huge. So write this name down if you're not familiar with it. His name is Mike Hicks. H as in Harry, I-C-K-S. Keller Williams agent out of Idaho. And half his business is referrals from the current client. I think he does 3 actions. Okay, so Diana, thanks for muting. Okay, all right. So with that said, go to YouTube and you'll see him do the promise script. I teach that in training also. So in training, you would also learn that the promise script basically is during our time together while your property is listed with me and during the closing, our goal is to provide a 12 experience out of a 1 to 10. We'll ask often how we're doing. And all that, and we know it's real estate and people, we're going to do our best. And all that I ask is that during our time together, that you help me find 1 buyer or seller. Could you do that? The script's a little bit longer than that, you know, and yet I want you to know that that's a very effective, isn't that? What about your assistant asking during the listing process, during the closing process? Now, they're not going to say the same script every time, and I teach them that. I teach them to say, oh, you know, I got to ask you before I let you go. Our business is based on great, awesome referrals from people like you. Who do you know right now? Hey, have you found anyone who's thinking about buying or selling? Oh, before I let you go, have you met anyone? Oh, okay, well, keep looking. We so appreciate the help on that. So they've got to have the role plays with you to be able to do that. Again, this is a profitable system to delegate. It's the easy button. And you don't have to be the only person asking for reviews and referrals. It's so easy to do. All right, and so I want you to think about referrals. I want you to write 5 things down. When you're doing your business plan, and when you've looked at your business plan and your sources of business, you can't just write down referrals. You have to write down various sources of referrals. There's 5 sources. Source number 1 is agent referrals. How are you doing on agent referrals around the country? If you're in command, you know about Kelly, you know about how to do that. That's an awesome system, okay? So agent referrals. Number 2 is team referrals, like from your assistant. I tell every assistant that I've ever hired, anyone I've ever trained, your goal is to make more in referrals. Of course, you have to be licensed. Referral fees from your current people that you know, past co-workers, neighbors, church, whatever it is, than you do in salary. And I usually had a lot of success with that, especially with daily accountability. So you got agent, you got team. The third one is obviously vendor. Vendor, yeah, people that you give business to that you support should be supporting you back. Then the fourth one is center of influence, or SOI, sphere of influence, people you haven't sold real estate to, but you know. And then the last one is past clients. So a past client referral is totally different than a team referral. And yet you want to categorize each of those. You want to make sure, okay? Yes, you're going to be getting the recording. All right. Okay, so increase your income through past clients and center of influence. Find out how many really referrals you got this year, and then say to yourself, okay, how do I double that? How do I triple that? One of the most interesting times that I ever had in a Gary Keller mastermind was when he said, okay, write down your goal. And at the time it was 225 houses that the team and I were going to do. And he goes, okay, cross through that, double it. And I went, okay, 450. He goes, how does that feel? And I go, and I'm thinking to myself, not good. He goes, okay, cross through that, double it again. I went, what? So now I'm at what, 900. And he goes, okay, there's your new goal. Now act like that. So when you look at your past clients and center of influence, I'm asking you to triple that. Now act like that. How is that going to happen? These are the simple no-brainer systems that sometimes we just need to step back at this time of year and go, how do I make that different? How do I make that different? What are you doing about agent referrals out there? I mean, to tell you, I get so many emails from people from Miami and Nashville and Destin, Florida, you name it. I've been there. I get them. It's great. but it reminds me that they're there. And so I'm always looking at those people there in my network. And then I'm sending them information about my market when I was selling in San Diego. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Lead generation. Okay, so what about lead generation? Well, one of the things about lead systems is, first of all, is that your system, your assistant can be the person who identifies all sources of business. And yet I want you to step back a minute. The most important number, remember I've coached more than anyone and I run maps for Gary Keller. I'm the VP of maps. The most important number is your appointments. How many appointments did you set this week? Because the appointments tell me what the activities were, because if you go on appointments, you're going to get deals. And so making sure that you do the activities to get the appointments. So your assistant can track your 5 sources of business. So anytime that I went out on an appointment, we had a monthly whiteboard, and Stephanie in my office would not give me my file until I said, where'd this appointment come from? And I went, oh yeah, it's here. She'd go on the whiteboard and put it there. And then if I took it, we then would check off, took listing. And so I knew exactly where those sources were. And was I spending a lot of money? Yeah, spending a lot of money on radio and television. I needed to track that hard and strong, make sure I was getting at least a 4 times return on that. Did I spend money on Zillow? Not much, but I did. And I want to make sure the return was there. But this was, did I spend money on just listed, just sold cards? Sure. I needed to make sure the return was there. So looking at that quarterly return on investment, so you don't go down a whole year and go, gosh, that didn't pay off. No, every quarter, your assistant would be analyzing that on a spreadsheet for you and bringing it, saying, here's the cost of each lead. And here's the return that we had on each lead. So if you had 100 leads off of Zillow and you closed one and it was a $9,000 commission and you were paying Zillow $1,000, yeah, you'd probably keep that one still. But then I'd go, what about the other 99 leads? What happened there? So you made it through that month. So every month and every quarter, you're checking off, okay. How valuable is that when you have that system in place, that your assistant is responsible for tracking the leads, the cost of every lead, the conversion rate, and the return of investment? Okay, so once again, there is a certain budget that you have. So again, it's at 10 to 12% would be a marketing budget that the MREA book would agree to, and Gary Keller and I would agree to. And yet who's keeping track of that budget on the marketing and the budget for your office? And are you following the 30, 30, 40? 30 is cost of business, 30 cost of sale, and 40% is profit. And some of you have a higher profit. Great. That's great. So once again, those systems are critical. All right. So let's go to the next slide, Chris. Okay. So social media. Gary Keller said something the other day on a call, and he said, database is critical and social media. He goes, I'd focus on those 2 things right now. So I got to thinking about that. And I'm one of these people that I don't go to Facebook. I have Facebook places, but I have, and don't use the word but because of both. And I have great admin people who help me with that. So when you're in the sales position that you are, you got to define your audience. And I see some great Facebook social media ads, and the Facebook ads through Command and everything are just stellar. And there's like, 1,000 for you to choose from, and they'll tell you which ones have the biggest pull. You set a goal on what you want to accomplish. You want to make sure, and then choose the social media platforms that you're going to go after. Create the content. So the content has to be valuable. And yet I've seen some of the most ingenious, fun things. Like one guy, and I don't know how he did it. I'd have to research back, but I remember someone showing it to me. He had a Halloween candy contest. What was the favorite? And it was like, he did it like a football, like, what did they call it? March Madness. And so it had brackets. Okay, so you got Twix, you got a Mounds bar, you got this bar, that bar. Okay, which one's going to make it? Which 2 are going to make it through? And then the next. And so he did it like a March Madness on the Halloween candy. So a lot of people do a lot of great things that are engaging. And a lot of people have had so much fun with you know, here's some decorator tips, or interviewing a decorator, or interviewing a gardener, what to plant. So they're coming up with some really fun, valuable things, and yet they're giving back to the community because the gardener got business, you know, the stager got business, the decorator got business, whatever it happens to be. And yet it's just a quick 15, 20-minute, here's some tips on this, or here's some tips on that. I'm interviewing this person this week. And you're interviewing business people. Think about it. Be creative and be fun where people can engage. One of my favorite things I think that people are doing right now is they're really looking at the MREI book, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And some of the clients that I coach, I suggested that they go buy 10 books on kellerinc.com. And on kellerinc.com, they can buy these books and give them out to special clients. You could do a Zoom call and create an investment club or an investment, you know, here's everything you need to know about making an investment in real estate. There's some great opportunities out there, and there still are, and there still will be, and it is the market of the moment. Okay, so be thinking about your social media presence, and what's great is, can you delegate that off? Yes. And here's how you're the personality, you're the person, but you're not the person that's putting it up, making the post. And your real estate, a great assistant, is the profit center that's going to say, okay, on the 15th of every month, we do a video. So on the 10th, I'll remind you, or, you know, a week before. So let's say the 7th, I'll remind you so that we can get the topic and get that ready. You know, it's about the scheduling. It's about the accountability. It's about keeping you on track versus you trying to remember and balance all the balls in the air. Can you imagine if you had an assistant and said, okay, it's time for that monthly video. Okay, here's the post that we can do on these listings. Which one do you approve? Let them do the research on command or whatever database you're using for Facebook ads. Let them do that, and that's part of their job. And again, I'm just sharing with you how important it is, these basic things, what it does for your business, for your career and your growth. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the next slide is 12 reasons to list your property during the next 2 months. So I wrote this last month, still you can use it now. There are serious buyers, low inventory, and there's always been those that have gone out for years. I wrote them, you know, in the 80s, you know, when there was, you know, selling real estate in the 80s and 90s, and we always did this too, but it's 12 reasons to list your home at Christmas time. So now you want to be looking at, why are people holding back and we have such low inventory? Let's get them to understand that this is really the right time to get it on the market. So hopefully you can use that. Okay. And one of the key things is that when you're lead generating, those are your objection handlers right there. So there you have it. Okay. The next slide, of course, is the I Care script that I wrote. And so basically on the I Care script, you basically, so I'm so glad I caught you. Do you have a couple of minutes? The purpose of my call is to wish you a happy holidays and a happy new year. How are you doing? How's your family? Is everything going okay at your job? You know, how's your business? You know, blah, blah. So now's the time to kind of dive in to make sure everybody's okay again. And do you have any real estate questions about this incredible, fast-paced, great real estate market? You know, and then, you know, if you're Keller Williams, I always go into Keller Mortgage. Would you like to talk about refinancing your house? What is your current interest rate? Oh, you have 4%? Wow, I think Keller Mortgage right now is 2.5 or 2.6. No points, no closing costs, $1,000 at closing. It's just a service we offer to everyone. Would you like to talk to a loan officer about that? And since I have you on the phone, a lot of people don't have enough insurance with the values of properties going up. Do you feel you're covered for the value of your home? What do you think your value of your home is right now? Have you got that proper insurance? So that's a great thing, because I remember I got caught in a fire in California one time, and it was pretty much coming at my house. In fact, my house was on CNN, and I happened to have that on, and I'm looking at, gosh, that looks like my house. That is my house. There's firefighters all over it. And I thought to myself, wow, I haven't changed my insurance in the last 5 years, and my insurance company wasn't giving me, and, you know, changing the value either. And I thought, oh, if that goes, it didn't burn, but that was great because the firemen did their job way and above. And I want you to hear this. So a lot of people are not insured. And when a lot of these people lose their homes, I always think first, wow, I wonder if they had the right insurance. Wonder if they did. So that's a great thing, you know, and thank you for your time. I'd love to ask you a favor. My business is based on referrals from great people like you. So sometimes it's just an eye care call and you're not going to ask for business. And sometimes it's appropriate when you have a good friendly call and they have time and you're chit-chatting back and forth and go, hey, if there's anything I can ever do to help you with real estate or any of your friends and family, hey, let me know. I'll jump through any hoops to help you, you know, and that's what I believe is so important. Okay. So, you know, obviously we've covered a bunch of the systems. So let's go, Chris, to the next slide. So the business plan for 2021. And so one of the things that we've changed, and I wrote this year, is to get really clear about your yearly goals and where your business came from, reviews and referrals, profit share, current net worth, and what are your 1, 2, 3-year goals. I have a specific one for assistance, buyer agent. So you can just email me at monica@kw.com. Just tell me which one you want, monica@kw.com. I'm happy to provide those for you. We did a whole business planning mastermind a couple months ago, and I have specific business plans for every single category. So with that said, you know, how important is it for you to have this done? It's so critical. You know, it's so critical. And one of the things that I really want you guys to know is that when you look at your business plan and make sure that your team is involved in that and getting their buy-in and their input and asking them different questions and what do you think about this? How do you think we can achieve that? So every source of business or where you're going to get your business. So let's say you've got, you know, past clients. What's your marketing plan for past clients? Let's say it's expireds. What's your marketing plan for expireds? Let's say it's Facebook. What's your marketing plan? So every source of business that you're going to go after to support your numbers needs a marketing plan. Who puts that together for you? Well, you have your assistant work on that. And is it a collaboration? Of course, all of this is a collaboration. Yet you're delegating. It's called the easy button. And so these are the top 5, in my opinion. And I've coached more than anyone, had a successful 7th level team. And I want you to hear that this is the foundational pieces that should be the easy button that are always there. So I know there's going to be a question. And so we'll go to the questions now. But on the next slide, Chris, let's share this. So I have another assistant class starting. And again, I dug the well. I wrote the books in the 90s. I got not thrown out. I was asked to leave Coldwell Banker in the 80s because I brought an assistant in. I was a top producer. In fact, I did more business than all the agents collectively. But I brought an assistant in and they thought the liability was too much. Caused me to write 2 books in the 90s on how to build a team. Imagine that. I dug the well. So if you're interested in that, this is the information there, mapscoaching.com/group, and you'll find the information there. So with that said, Chris, could you read a few of the questions for me? I'm looking in the chat box now myself. I see a question. Do you feel it's best to have the agent make the care call or the assistant making those calls just as impactful? Great question. That is divide and conquer. So the assistant has a relationship with that seller, with that buyer, with that contract. So you do divide and conquer. You say, okay, I'm going to call these people. You're going to call these people. Sometimes it's just such an easy call for an assistant to say, hi, this is Stephanie. Ask that I call you as part of our customer service. Do you have a couple of minutes? Great. Monica and I wanted to wish you a happy holidays. Oh, Stephanie, great to hear from you. Because Stephanie had a relationship with them also. How's the family? But remember, in order to be impactful, you've got to take the time to role play so that your assistant sounds like me. And hey, just checking in on you. We wanted to make sure, is your family okay? Did you have a good holidays? Great. Any plans for New Year's? Be personable, coming across. Okay, great. And then you say, the next question is, how's your business? How's your job going? They may say, I don't know, there may be some cutbacks. Okay, well, there you go. Now you've got a possible opportunity to maybe to help someone. All right, Chris, did you find one?
Sure. Okay, this one is, do you bonus your admin if they get a referral from a past client And is it the same amount for referrals from their SOI?
Okay, no. Okay, so if you're admin, there's two ways to handle this. Now remember, this is all subject, if that's an, I mean, I think that's an admin, great admin person. Admin changes the lives of real estate agents. So first of all, you guys are the secret weapon. Any admin on this call, you know I have you at the highest level of respect. And what I'm going to share with you is my philosophy and what I think is fair. Your agent may have a different philosophy and you have to work through that, and that's what it is. So when an admin would come and work with me, I would say that you need to bring me 500 people, name, address, phone number, and email, everybody you know. And we're going to put them in the database with your initials. Anytime you have business that comes from your sphere of influence because of your contact or the fact that we're now emailing them, video going out once a month, etc., then you will get paid 25% because you're licensed. So I believe in paying a licensed assistant 25% of their sphere of influence, people I don't know, okay? If they're not licensed, I believe in paying them a flat fee, $250, $500, whatever you want to make it to be. And that means that is a bonus. You can pay an unlicensed person a bonus. You cannot pay them a referral fee. So stay out of jail there. So when an assistant is asking my client that I listed for a referral and gets one, then at closing, there would be $100 bonus. That's how that's paid. So my clients, my database is off, but if is off limits, but they should be asking, and then at closing, they get paid $100 and 25% on any deals they bring through. So sometimes licensed assistants will hold open houses on Sunday and bring referrals back to the team. They would get 25%. So these are conversations that need to be worked out. Good question. Okay, what's next, Chris?
Okay. Would it make sense to do a week high and a week low, both for the business, but then also for the admin personally, if they're comfortable sharing, to create a deeper relationship?
Say that one again now.
So back to the high and low, you know, for the week.
Okay.
Does it make sense to do basically a business high and low and a personal high and low to
no, I didn't differentiate in the assistant and the team member. I had buyer agents, I had ISAs, they'll all put in there. So I say it's personal or business. I don't differentiate for that. They will come across and if you have the right relationship. So let me teach you guys a trick on communication with your staff. So being a triple high D, I'm not very personable about, hi, how are you? In fact, if anybody asks me how I am, I don't like it. I usually say, fine. And I want to move on. I mean, it's really, that's how a D operates. So sorry, all you high S's and I's out there, I know. So with that said, I want to make sure that you guys are really clear that you have to know your audience. You have to know your audience. And so when, I'm sorry, Chris, I got lost in this. What was it? Last part of that question? Oh,
doing the highs and lows for personal.
Yeah. And so here's 3 things that you do. You walk up to every single person on your team every day. Painful as it is for you high Ds, do it. 3 things to say. Hi, how are you today? What are you working on? Great. How can I help you? 3 questions. 3 questions. And I learned that from Dave Ramsey. He walks around that office. They have like 500 employees. He doesn't hit them all every day, of course not. But he makes a certain point. Okay, I'll get off on this floor and I'm going to walk around and ask people, hey, it's Dave. How are you? What are you working on? How do I help you? He would find out the most amazing things. So you have to do that. Whereas before, as an agent, I would literally walk in, go to my desk, start dialing the phone, and I just wave at everybody. Hey, everybody, let's have a great day. And I'd go to work. So I gave you a tip on how to build a great, great culture like that. Okay, what's next, Chris?
I've got a question here. Can an unlicensed admin make cold calls?
The question is, why do you want them to do that? Okay, so yes, they can, depending on, be very careful. First of all, there's a do not call list. There's a lot of agents in Keller Williams that have been fined. There are professional do not call people out there waiting for an agent to call. And they know exactly how to get it. In fact, if you leave a voicemail on a do not not call, there has been agents that have been fined $1,500 for leaving a voicemail. So be very careful. Know your do not call list. So I would say, I would not have an unlicensed assistant do cold calls. I would have them call relationships that you have if you want to have them help with a holiday call or an eye care call. I would not get them into the lead generation. That's a whole different personality. If you look at a KPA and there's 37 Keller personality assessment, there's 37 job fits right now. Usually an executive assistant, listing manager, TC, they are not a salesperson. They are detailed, organized, superior people at paperwork, that sort of thing. They're not usually a salesperson with a bubbly personality coming across the phone. So be careful with that. Do not call list, get it from your market center. They have them. Or you can go online and get it. Okay, what else, Chris?
Let's see. Does the assistant do the contract to close function also?
Well, then there comes the problem, right? Okay, so when you're hiring your first assistant, they are going to do contract to close, of course. And then when you build your team, now I wrote the book in the 90s. Gary wrote MREA in 2000s, and he used the same sort of philosophy that I had. For every 45 transactions, you have one full-time assistant. So for example, if you are at 55, 60 transactions, you're on your way to an assistant in it. You have an assistant and a half. And so it's really, really great that you absolutely have the right number of assistants. What was the rest of that question, Chris? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry, the contract to close function, does the assistant?
Yeah, then, okay. So then here's the next part of that. So when you hire that second assistant, the first assistant is going to do contract to close. Then when you hire the second assistant, if you follow the models and you follow the 7th level, first level is you, second level is your first assistant, third level, your second assistant, who reports to the first assistant. Now that first assistant you have may not be the leader of the team of assistants. So you may hire someone, or they are, and then that person reports to them. So usually you have one listing manager, one TC. The listing manager is a whole different personality style. And I teach that in the Perfect Operations team. Your listing manager has a high S. They're detailed and organized with a C, of course, but they have a high S. The transaction coordinator, the TC, has a high C. Cross the T's, dot the I's, completely detail oriented. And the S is the personality on the listings. S is the personality on, taking a lead and that comes into the office if you're not there and being able to handle it correctly. Okay. So so I divide those jobs up. That has always been my personal preference. There's a lot of mega teams that I've coached over the years that has an assistant contract to close, and they're doing 300 transactions. They have 4 assistants and each one takes them contract to close. It can work very well. And yet that's on a larger team. So I like keeping it simple. I've got a listing manager, I got a TC, and as my business grew, then they each had their own assistants also. Okay, what's next, Chris?
Okay, so as an agent, how do you transition from being the one that calls your database for care calls to an assistant making those calls?
You're never going to get out of it. Okay, so the easy button is having your assistant help with that. And yet you brought in 5 listings and you have 6 that went under contract. The assistant doesn't have a lot of time to do eye care calls. So it's basically a team effort. You do it together. And so I never want you to say that you're going to step out of lead generation, because you're always going to be the best one to do that. And so when I say you do the eye care calls, who are the most valuable people? So watch this as a little tip. No one ever does this. And no one ever does this. Watch this tip. In your database, every single time you close a transaction, you should have a field that has a $sign. Here's your bonus of the day. And every time you close a transaction, your assistant puts in $3,000. Well, let's say that was your commission from, John Smith. John then gets divorced and buys a bigger house, and he has his ex-wife gets a house. Now he's bought 2 more houses, and now you add those commissions, which is 10,000. Now he's worth 13,000. And his wife has her own ex-wife, and et cetera. And so if you put in your value of each client, so even going back and saying, gosh, I should have done this years ago. Well, I've sold this guy 4 houses. Then take an average. He's worth 20,000, whatever. And so can you imagine that you then pull up a list, your assistant does, of everyone that you have generated over $20,000 in commissions, and those are the people you call. And so again, you have a list of your very special clients that you call. People have given you referrals, people have done multiple transactions with you. You never give those to your assistant. You stay in touch with those. So it's a collaboration, and I used that word before. You both do it together. You never get out of lead generation. You're the great salesperson. And yet, I know when teams get bigger, you hire ISAs, you can step more to the side, yet you still have your special relationships that you will always be in touch with. So that's a great question. Okay, thanks. Do you look at the initial way you met someone as a source of business? For example, I met someone at Chamber 2 years ago, and now they become a client after being an SOI all the time. Yeah, when somebody's been an SOI and you sold them a house, now they're a past client. So they can move from one category to another. In fact, you'd like all those SOIs to move to past clients. Wouldn't that be great? And by the way, when you think about past clients, I've had so many great conversations with agents this year about past client appreciation parties. That's something that you delegate to your assistant also. There's been drive-by Santa, there's been shredding parties, there's pie giveaways. People would drive up to the parking spot, they'd run out with a pie. So, I mean, there's so many of those great things. There's 2 gals that I know very well. One's in Florida and one's in Alaska. They each had over 500 people come to get the pies. And when they came to get the pies, they had to sign in, because all very, safely. And they signed in, and then if they knew of anyone thinking about buying or selling, that they would get a gift card from Amazon, $15, or a bottle of wine. People would sit there, go through their phone and say, okay, I found someone that you need to call. And each of them got over 60 referrals. That's pretty darn good. But that's a great assistant idea, wasn't it? It's a great, great idea. So there you have it. You got these great guys and gals. All right, Chris, what's next?
Let me see here. I think we were towards the very end there. Hold on one second. Do you believe prospecting through Facebook ads could replace cold calling?
I don't think anything replaces, when you say cold calling, don't do cold calling. Don't do cold calling. Cold calling, to me, you can get yourself in trouble with the do not call list. I have to tell you, there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of lawsuits levied at so many real estate agents right now because they did not follow the do not call list. When you say cold call, I get very concerned about that. Relationship calling. We have a term in our office called RER, relationship experience return. So as you're working with the client, you're asking for a referral, and then you're saying, hey, John, I'm calling you, Bill asked that I call you, and he said you might be thinking about a house. Look for those kind of relationships. Be very careful of who's going in that database, that you scrub that list. So if you're calling cold call and that's just listed, just sold, make sure you scrub the list. Make sure you scrub the list. Make sure you scrub the list. There's a lot of services like Mojo and Vulcan 7 that will scrub the list for you. Be very careful. Stay away from that. Scrub the list on the cold calls. The second thing is, I'm a big proponent of expireds and FSBOs, and yet those people are on a do not call list. So you got to be careful about that too. I mean, I love a for sale by owner calling them up and saying, I just want to know about your property. It's my job to know the inventory. May I ask you a couple of questions about your home? And if I feel like they've got motivation, why, where, and when are you moving versus we don't know when we're going. If we get our price, we'll go somewhere. Where do you think you might go? Well, we might go to Idaho, but we also might go to Arizona. But I've been looking at Florida now, and I'm going, okay, this guy's not ready to go yet. And so then I would say, if they had all the right answers, I say, okay, it's my job to know the inventory. may I stop by on Thursday and take a look at your property somewhere between 2 and 4? I look at properties. So I'll just go over there and chat them up and see if I want to set the appointment based on the condition and what they're thinking and what they're going to do. So be very careful. Cold calls, it kind of sends me to legal. And legal says you can't make cold calls unless you scrub the list. Okay. So be very careful. I've warned you. I've warned you. Good. All right. What else, Chris?
Okay, getting a lot of comments right here at the end. One question, would you rather just send a letter to all expireds who are on the do not call list?
Oh, well, if you send a letter to someone on a do not call list, you're, from what I understand, but you should check with your broker. I think that's okay, but then you've got a, what is it, a 1% return? So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. So you got to be careful about that also. And so one of the ways that I think is the best is that I would break BRAKE for expireds. I always got a list of expireds that were in my area. And then I would just randomly stop by and knock on the door and just say, I apologize for the intrusion. I'm working with some buyers right now. I know your property was on the market. Can you tell me when you might consider putting it back on the market? About your house. So that you have to think outside the box. Also, one of the best times that I talked to an agent one time, she was a newer agent. She said she did 9 deals her first quarter. And I went, really? How'd you do that? She goes, well, I would hold open houses for for sale by owners. I go, what? So she would go and look at a for sale by owner and say, if you'd like, I will hold an open house for you because I know it's a little challenging to hold your own open house. If you'll do all the marketing, I'll just show up and hold the open house for you. Anybody who wants to buy it, I'll give them right back to you. And obviously I'll be looking for people who really, can't afford your house or it's not the right fit. There you go. So being real creative. So here's what's great. 2020 was fascinating. Okay. We all learned to pivot. We all learned to change. 2021, I feel really good about where we're going. We have a vaccine coming in. We have some opportunities. Yes, it's still a Zoom world. And so many agents did incredibly well. They didn't sit on the couch and think, oh, I'm in quarantine. They got off the couch. They made their eye care calls. They made the pivots that they needed as far as social distancing and how to show a house that safely with gloves and booties and masks and the whole deal and sanitizing a property, whatever it took sometimes. They were willing to do everything it could to accommodate that change in the market. So when you hire a great assistant, there's a couple of things that I want to share with you. The communication is absolutely so important on how you both communicate with each other and how you communicate with that seller. The second thing I'm going to suggest to you is that you invest in training. You invest in training for yourself. You invest in training for your assistant. This is the culture of your team. This is the secret weapon. This is the person that makes the biggest difference with the clients. Because your job is to go find new clients. Your job is to go find business. Your assistant is to take care of the business. So I wholeheartedly hope that you see today there was an easy button, just great reminders, and thinking about this going forward. How do you rate yourself in each one of those 5 categories? What could you do a little differently? Don't miss out on the piece of the pie of the profit share. That's grandfathered in for 2 generations. It's such an important piece. Linda McKissick, who's a dear friend of mine, and she's not in my downline. I introduced her to Mo Anderson, though, but that's okay. She never even heard of Keller Williams. And she'll make probably $2 million this year in profit share. That is her business. And so think about that. That's one of those great benefits of being part of Keller Williams. So with that said, I appreciate everyone. Happy holidays. I hope you got a couple of tweaks. Like I said, there's nothing earth shattering. You're great reminders, foundational pieces that are duplicatable, scalable. Leverage it, pass it off, and have that accountability and have that success you so deserve. Grow that business and be the best real estate agent in your community. Thanks, everyone. I'm Monica Reynolds. I appreciate talking to you. Thanks. Bye, everyone.